Today, Massachusetts educators, including members of the Springfield Federation of Paraprofessionals, will participate in the Protect Our Kids Day of Action to protest proposed cuts to public education funding by the Trump administration and Elon Musk. Western Mass News reporter Taylor Smith is live in the studio with more details this morning. So, Taylor, what can you tell us about this initiative?
Well, Amanda, this is a national initiative organized by the American Federation of Teachers to raise awareness about the potential negative impacts of these cuts. Now, these multi-million-dollar budget cuts could lead to school closures and diminished opportunities for students, particularly those from under-resourced neighborhoods and those with disabilities. Now, taking place today throughout the state, thousands of educators will be wearing red to show their commitment to education, with specific events planned in numerous districts. Now in Springfield, paraprofessionals will participate from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. A national press conference will also feature prominent education leaders with plans to discuss the larger disparities of these funding cuts. And additionally, AFT Massachusetts will host a virtual town hall meeting at 7 p.m. to discuss the specific effects of federal funding cuts on Massachusetts schools. Along with addressing potential cuts to federal funding for public education, MTA members are voicing support for under-resourced facilities, immigrant families, LGBTQ+ students, and children with disabilities, as the rights of these groups are the most impacted. For now, reporting live in the studio this morning, Taylor Smith, Western Mass News.
Lots of information.